they sent an email from the new CEO, or from the CEO, to that brand new accountant who hasn't really been trained as much, hasn't gone through all that security awareness training, and said, hey, I need the employee payroll for the entire company's history right this second, because I'm about to walk into a meeting, email it to me right here, right now, and go. And that accountant went and did it right away. Gave all the payroll of the entire Snapchat company right away, instead of going down there and bothering the CEO who was in a meeting to say, is this really you? You got to verify it. And it's really hard for a lot of people, because if they're not working in security specifically, if they're working in payroll or something, they're not necessarily going to be thinking, oh, well, someone's trying to hack me right now, especially if they just started that first day and it appears like it's coming from the boss. It says, I think the guy's name was Evan, I can't remember the CEO, at Snapchat.com. Obviously, this is him. Clicking reply and sending it back is not going to be a problem. Milwaukee Bucks fell to the same type of an attack, and a hacker and ended up getting $2 million worth of plane tickets by sending different things to employees, getting codes and refunds and things like that when he never purchased any ticket at all. You want to try it? I don't know if we're going to be able to hear this video. FM and then therapy. Nope. Oh well. This was at DEF CON, and what they did was this reporter said, all right, hack me. And he went to the Social Engineering Village, which is a great place if you're going to DEF CON. Definitely go by there. You'll see live calls of them going for companies like Verizon, Comcast, T-Mobile, all kinds of companies. And you'll be amazed at all the secrets that they get from these companies in just a 24-minute phone call.
This year they went after cybersecurity companies.
Dell.
See if you can get the volume, because if they haven't seen this is hilarious.
Oh, it's great.
Let's do it.
Just not be slightly off.
Maybe I'll call your cell phone provider
Okay.
and see if I can get them to give me your email address.
I bet they're good. I bet they have my back. But yeah, go for it.
I'm gonna spoof from your number, so it's gonna look like it's calling from you.
Okay.
Hi, I'm so sorry. Can you hear me okay? My baby, I'm sorry. my husband's like, we're about to apply for a loan and we just had a baby and he's like, get this done by today, so I'm so sorry. I can't call you back. I'm trying to log into our account for uses information and I can't remember what email address we used to log the account. The baby's crying and can you help me? Awesome.
In just 30 seconds, Jessica gets my personal email address.
Now, if I needed to add our older daughter on our account so she could call in and make changes, how would I need to go about doing that? You would have to send me a secure PIN through a text message. Yeah, well, the thing is, I don't think I'll be able to receive a text message if I'm on the phone. Oh, I'm not on there either? So I thought when we got married, he added me to the account. Okay, my name
Jessica uses my girlfriend's name and a fake social security number
5127.
to set up her own personal access to my account.
Wait, I'm sorry, so there's no password on my account right now? Can I set that up?
She even gets the support person to change my
Thank you
password.
so much for your help today.
So she just basically blocked me out of my own account.
I'll get her set up. All right, thank you.
Holy shit. So they just gave you access to my entire cell phone
You're
account.
gonna have to go on and change your password now because it's Jess, my name.
And all it took was a crying baby and a phone call. I really thought that my cell phone company would protect me. I mean, like, this is the most basic stuff. And they're not.
And it was very easy. He did a bunch of other hacks. If you continue watching that series, it was really good. There's a lot of different things that you can get exploited by just calling somebody up and asking for a little bit of information. Having a little baby crying and they're thinking, oh, this has got to be legitimate. And they're not thinking of, let's actually verify this real quick. Sammy, he was a poor little kid, didn't have any friends. Loved MySpace, so this is quite a little while back. He's a little older than I am at least. That's his JavaScript code right there. Don't even know what any of that means, but basically posting that little blob into a wall post or whatever you call it on MySpace allowed him to, anybody that viewed it would then like his page, friend him, and then share it on their own page. And it would keep on going out. He had about 40 friends and ended up getting a couple million people in 12 hours. just by it spreading through that. And it's a great way of showing how intelligence hops, if you get one person and you just keep on going down, a few hops away from any one person that's got a few friends is going to be a lot of people. And he had eventually MySpace caught on when they saw that this one guy became famous overnight. And he had sent in requests, bug requests to them, and they didn't listen until he proved it this way. And I think he was 15 or 16 at the time. And became the most popular person on MySpace in just a few hours. Okay. And then the other popular example is a USB drop. That's what we love to do during pen testing. For example, if I know PC Assistance is where he works, and I want to send him a little kit, t-shirt, flash drives, other things, and all with his company's branding on it. And be like, oh, these are free. If you want to end up buying from us, go to this website, order more, yada, yada, yada. Most people aren't going to order it, but they're like, hey, it's already got all of our logos on it, it looks good, it works. Why not just keep it? Ooh, it's a free 64 gig or 128 gig flash drive. Might as well use it. Well, little do they know that it's actually got a worm in there, and now we've got their entire network real quick. Cold call virus scam or Microsoft tech support. A guy calls in saying, hey, I'm from Microsoft tech support. Your subscription's coming up for renewal, so let's fix your computer real quick. Pulls up, shows you how to pull up the audit logs. And if you go into any Microsoft Windows audit logging system, you're gonna see a million errors. You're just gonna, no matter what you just normally, there's gonna be errors. And when they pop up all these errors, it's like, oh, critical errors, and most people that aren't technical will know, I've always got a problem. Maybe that's why my computer's been slow lately. And the guy will tell him a couple of different software to download and clean it up, and he'll actually remote in and do that. And when he's got this remote access and doing all of this, he's also locking all of your files with ransomware. So what his goal is, at the very end, to get you to renew your support subscription for 150 bucks or whatever. And if you renew it, fine, he just walks away. But if you say no, then now that he's had this remote access, he's got this ransomware on your computer, and now he just locks everything and says, all right, now you're going to pay us, or we're going to delete all your files. And a lot of people end up having to pay out.
We had a doctor, when a client of ours, one of our engineers was on site installing a firewall into his network. And the doctor found him, he was really, really mad. He goes, man, I was just on the phone with you guys, I paid you and everything, and all of a sudden the connection was gone. Tony's like, what are you talking about? The guy, this exact same situation, and the guy was remoted in, doing exactly what Dylan was talking about at the same time that our engineer was installing the firewall, and once he got the firewall installed, it severed the connection, and the guy came back and was just yelling at the engineer. He's like, whoa, no, that's not us, who did you pay? And he sent the guy like 350 bucks and all sorts of stuff.
And now, on Twitter, if you've got a really short name like @N, that's really popular. And a lot of people will offer you a lot of money. Like this guy was offered $50,000 to buy that Twitter because a lot of people want something easy to remember and easy to look up, or that people will accidentally go to. And what somebody had done is they had gone over to his PayPal account and started calling and saying, hey, I know this guy's email, I know this guy's name, but I don't know anything more than that. And he was trying to convince PayPal to give him access to the PayPal account. And eventually, the PayPal employee he ended up getting allowed him to start guessing the last 4 digits of his credit card. And instead of just saying, oh, you're just not doing it, he's going 1, 2, 3. Oh, 3 is right. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is right. Until the guy got it right. Because he had technically obtained the credit card number. And they let him into the PayPal account. They let him reset the password, change the email, everything. So now he's got his PayPal. He sees all the credit cards that are attached to that PayPal. So now he knows his real credit card numbers, he knows his emails, he knows his billing address, all that. So now he calls up GoDaddy and says, hey, GoDaddy, here's my last 4 digits of the credit card. Turns out the credit cards on there weren't on his GoDaddy account, at least the first 3 weren't. So GoDaddy was already suspicious, but then he named the billing address. One of the credit cards actually ended up being on that GoDaddy account, and he was able to convince GoDaddy, because he had all this information from PayPal, that he was the rightful account holder. So he hopped onto the GoDaddy account. Now his GoDaddy is where he hosted his email. So now he's got direct access to his email. He owns the email account. He owns the GoDaddy account. Now that he's able to lock out the guy from being able to control anything with his account, he doesn't even have control of his email address to be able to go try and get that account back, because he owns all of his digital life now. And then he ends up sending a password reset to Twitter. Since he owns the email, logs in right there, changes the password, now he's got the Twitter. And then all you do, since he had the Twitter, yes, this guy's eventually going to call in and gain access to these accounts back. But with Twitter, if you change your username, now your old username's up for grabs. So as soon as he changed his username, the other guy changed his username to add in, and now he's got his account and he's got his username for good. Until Twitter eventually found out about this once it hit the media and ended up getting him the name back and banning the people that were responsible. But it was something as simple as just PayPal allowing him to guess 4 digits to a credit card number, and any 4 digits they guessed allowed him in. And then this was my Skype hack. Back when I was working with the FBI, a lot of people kept trying to break into the accounts that we would use, and one of my Skype accounts was hijacked 6 times by them calling support in the same day. Obviously, there's no logging system with Skype support, because if someone's changing account hands 6 times in one day, obviously you'd think something was up. So I was out of town that day, so I called a friend, asked him to help me out real quick, go get the account back for me. And when he did, all Skype support asked him was name 3 of his friends on Skype. Didn't ask for my email, didn't ask for my phone number, no credit card, I had a paid Skype account, everything. Didn't ask for anything, just name 3 friends. Well, what I found out was even easier is let's see if I can try to manipulate this. So I created 3 fake accounts on Skype real quick, took a minute, added myself with all 3 of those accounts. I didn't add them from my account, I just made them try to send me a friend request. I didn't accept the request. Then I went to Skype support and said, hey, these are the 3 people. And they all had the same name, 1, 2, and 3 at the end of it. And these are my friends. They didn't verify, oh, these guys just added you. I didn't add them back. And they counted that as legitimate enough to take over the account. So I was able to take it over multiple times again. Until eventually talked with an executive assistant at Skype's headquarters, and they ended up locking my account permanently and being able to make it where it could not change any of that information and put a notice on the security panel. And then eventually they introduced 2-factor authentication not long after that. Want to talk about defenses, countermeasures?
The countermeasures are really, really very simple when it comes to social engineering. Is pay attention to what you're doing and educate. If you're in a leadership position, you need to educate your employees. I don't know what you put on the slide.
This one is a lot of phishing pages. If someone's noticed that they're phishing, Google, it'll report them to Google in the browsers, and Google will pop up this big warning. If they pop up that warning, it's probably good not to click ignore. It's probably good to trust it real quick and follow those prompts, because if you probably can't see the domain, but it's like paypal.com.service-secure with a couple of these .info. Obviously not the right domain, but it says paypal.com. A lot of people will see, ooh, it's got paypal.com in there, so it's legitimate. But that's why Google will notice, hey, this is not a legitimate domain. Obviously, it's a phishing attempt. And a lot of implicit defenses are like your spam filtering of your email, or the ability to check the certification. You can check a lot of the certifications, see, is it verified? Is it issued by a company or is it self-signed? Things of that nature. So you'll know.
That's actually one I want to touch on. Is that everybody has had to click through and accept a self-signed certificate or something. If you're doing that, you need to know why. Like, you need to know what that means, who it is that issued it, and why you're doing it. Because people get in the habit of doing that, and that's, to get to a malicious page, you usually have to accept a self-signed cert, and most people will do it without any issue.
If you go on Firefox and you're trying to find, you get a website that, usually an internal website or something like that has a self-signed certificate, it'll say like, add this security exception. And if you click it and add it, well, now that cert's good for you until it's revoked. But since no publisher or agency is actually verifying that, the only person that's going to revoke it is the person that actually put it there in the first place. So now they've got all the keys, and they can end up breaking down that and getting a man-in-the-middle attack to that. Good, thanks. Data destruction, you can talk about that one.
Data destruction, which we already talked about, is you've got to get rid of your hard drives. And this isn't even really good methods of getting rid of it. You need to send them to a company that specializes in destroying your data. And then you need to make sure that that company is trusted. And when the person shows up to pick up your hard drives, you need to make sure that they are from that company and who they say they are. Because that is one of the best ways to get data, is to pretend to be from the data destruction company.
So you can do it the official way like him, or you can just take a hammer out there, blow it up, burn it,
Or a
microwave,
That works
shoot
too.
it, whatever, target practice, whatever you want to do. Make sure it does not work ever again. Because even on your personal computers, you've probably done your taxes, you've probably done billing information, all kinds of information. Even if you just delete it, it is still recoverable. There are still ways to recover that data, even if it's deleted from there.
Are you saying the DoD watch is not secure enough?
Some things are pretty damn secure, like the one that if you watch the new Snowden movie, they've got a data destruction in there that goes pretty thorough.
No, I mean just the standard DoD wipe.
I'm not familiar with any DoD.
What, you know what they,
I don't know the standard version or the number of the standard, but it's a Department of Defense secure wipe for hard drives. And
it probably
it's
is.
like a seven pass wipe.
It probably is.
It's a minimum of 7 passes with different characters.
Yeah.
But how many people are doing that with their home laptops or, or how many defense contractors are doing
Well,
that?
I was
How-
curious if you were saying that
Yeah.
wasn't good enough.
Well, we're mainly talking
Yeah.
about if you're deleting a file
Yeah,
off
we're
a
talking-
computer or something, like an average person.
Dragging it to the recycling bin.
Even a lot of businesses don't even delete. I mean, I can't tell you how many pen testing things that we've done with businesses or FBI contracts that we've had where we go into a business, they're still running XP or 2000 or 95 even, and they've got every file that's ever been on there, and they just say, oh, I deleted our old tax return, so it's safe now, or whatever. It's no, and then they'll hand you the machine and be like, oh yeah, can you throw this away or something like that, or they'll leave it in a closet or let the other people have it if they thought they deleted the files. Anybody can take home the equipment. Obviously, they are not paying attention. Half the time, they don't even delete it out of the recycling bin. They just put it in there.
I've built computers out of dumpsters. So
Okay.
I know what you're talking about,
Mhm.
but just because you were referring to physical destruction as opposed to
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can
doing
do
the wipe,
either
I
way.
wasn't sure what you were saying.
Either way works. I like to blow it up instead.
I had a school that I help out give me a NAS over here. You can have it. We're not using it anymore. And it had 4 hard drives in it that were full of like student personal information. And I took it back to them and did the right thing. But it was just, they didn't even think to open it and look to see what was in it just because they trusted me.
Degauzers are very strong magnets. Those are useful.
And you can use common tips. If you've got a password and you use it in multiple places, very bad idea. It's very easy because like Mark Zuckerberg getting that LinkedIn hack. He had a password in there and that ended up being used on multiple different accounts. Very easy to do. You've also got to stop thinking about passwords as in passwords. You need to think of passphrases.
Mhm.
Because you don't need something that's got tons of weird characters and numbers and symbols that you're just never going to remember. If you do something, I mentioned Snowden a lot. He did a good example on John Oliver where he said Margaret Thatcher, with her name, first letter of her name capitalized, is 110% in numbers and symbols, sexy with sexy all capitalized. No one's going to guess that.
Mhm.
It's very long, so it's going to be a lot harder to crack, but it's something very easy to remember. I haven't seen that clip in a couple of years, and I still remember that password. Don't have to be as paranoid as some of us that work in security, where you got changing your passwords every 30 to 90 days, having all kinds of different passphrases, all unique. You can use a password manager. I'm personally not too big of a fan of it because I don't want one point of failure.
Mhm.
Or you can just write it down. I mean, unless you're afraid of like the FBI coming and knocking on your door and taking your password list, you're probably pretty safe with that. But it's have long passphrases. Just come up with a few words or a phrase that you would normally say, not something you would normally say, but that you could easily remember.
A passage from a book that you read in high school that stuck with you, or something that your grandmother used to say that you think about but nobody else will, and then leave the punctuation, change a few things in it. Bitcoin uses like 13 random words, and I like that a lot too. It randomly generates 13 English words and gives them to you, and you memorize those, which most people can do that aren't related, and that's actually really, really secure.
And
You have to do that on every device and every account.
yeah, you should do it. I mean, you should do
You
it on
can
every
group
account.
it though. You don't have to do that on some
You don't have to
random
compare.
forum that you go to that doesn't matter, because if you're not using that for anything else, it doesn't have to be that secure because you don't care if somebody gets in it. I'm kind of guilty. I don't use a different password for everything. I group things into, I don't care if anybody gets this, I care a little bit, I care a whole lot, and will destroy my life. And do my passwords based on
What I
that.
usually recommend to my students is to, if it's an account that you really don't care about, it's our game account or something like that, use a password manager. Because at that point, if all those fail and it doesn't have billing information attached, it's fine. But if it's got billing information attached, or it's bank account or something like that, then have a passphrase that you can memorize or write down. That's a lot more secure and a lot easier to handle and you don't have to worry about it as much. But don't worry, but even if you don't share passwords between accounts, you also have to be worried about over-connecting accounts. Like that PayPal account being connected to that GoDaddy account that was connected to his email account that was connected to his Twitter account.
Is there a software product that will show you your connections like that? Do you have a?
I don't have anything that would
Really
show
good idea.
different connections for it, but.
Good idea.
But yeah, you got to be worried about that because if just by compromising that one PayPal, he got all the way 4 hops down to his Twitter account. So you got to be worried about over-connecting accounts. Try to limit. Don't put all of your credit cards on one account, and then they can just start guessing it and have access to everything you've ever paid for online.
A password strategy I use, and I really don't know anybody else that uses this, but I really like it, is I use hashing algorithms like MD5 and SHA-252 of either a file I have on my computer or a phrase or something that I've memorized, and then I don't even know my password. I know the algorithm I use and what I use to see that algorithm, and I'll calculate on my phone or my computer whenever I need to log in. Something that I kind of came up with that I like using, but I'm not really tested scientifically to see how severe it is.
And then also be careful what you post on social media. There's a lot of celebrities that we've seen get breached because they'll post a ticket, an airplane ticket saying, hey, I'm flying out to Vegas or whatever to do this show. And they have the rewards number up there. That rewards number for most airlines is enough to take over your entire airplane account, revoke your ticket, buy a bunch of more tickets, all kinds of information. A lot of celebrities have bought a lot of plane tickets through that.
I could use some flight miles.
Exactly. They'll give you miles, they'll just use your credit card for it. Least privilege principle, that's my favorite principle in all this here. Is what I make sure all my students know right away at the very beginning is you need to only give access to what the person needs to do. If they're the CEO, they do not need root access to every single server. Even if they ask for it, they don't need it. You got to be able to tell them why. Hey, if you have this, there's multiple points of failure. You need to limit it as much as you can. Only the person that's specifically working on that section of the server or that application needs access to that. Just because they're the boss doesn't mean they need full access to everything at any second, and remote access at that. A lot of these CCDC competitions we have, we run a business, and we're running the IT department for those businesses for a 2-day simulation that simulates about 6 months of work. And that we'll always get a CEO saying, hey, we got this web server for our website. Can you throw up this Kik client so I can send Kik messages to my daughter on her phone from the office, or this web version of Snapchat? I found this open source version on GitHub. Here's the code. Good luck. And it's obviously riddled with vulnerabilities, but you have to be able to know, hey, CEO, no, and here's an alternative. So we always worked around, because you couldn't just say no to the guy. You had to be able to say, all right, well, why don't you just talk to your daughter on Skype, and here, we'll install Skype for you on your computer real quick. Something of that, something where it's more secure and it's not breaking your company policies.
That doesn't just go for people too, it goes for processes running on your computer too. If you have a process that's running as root or systems, why? Why does it need those privileges? Because if somebody exploits that process, the access they gain is with the privileges that process was running.
We have Monday night hacking sessions where we'll go with our teams and mess around. And last week we were talking about Unreal IRCD service. That IRC does not need root privileges to the entire system. And it's riddled with vulnerabilities. It's part of a Metasploitable package, which is a vulnerable web app.
Literally one button and you take over it.
And now you've got the whole server because you've got a process that has root permissions that you can now send commands as root through that. One other thing, the other one was multi-factor authentication. Use it. If you're somebody that actually has information that's really critical, stay away from SMS multi-factor. Because
that's not NIST came out new standards, and SMS is not considered multi-factor authentication anymore at all.
Yeah, NIST has blocked that. You're not allowed, if you have to follow NIST guidelines, you're not allowed to use SMS anymore because of an SS7 vulnerability in the towers where you can now hijack those and get those texts forwarded to other people. And it's relatively simple. Some of the students that I taught in high school who couldn't spell the word administrator when I started teaching them, and I've only been teaching them for a couple of months now, can do that vulnerability. A lot of the documentation's out there now. It's very easy to do. It's just, you got to piss off someone that wants to go out and learn that. But if you do want to use like an authenticator app like Google Authenticator or Authy or something like that, that will random generate it in-app rather than as a text message.
Which isn't completely perfect, but I'm actually doing a challenge for the NSA right now where I'm trying to reverse engineer a software that generates these keys to get a Google authentication token that I'm not supposed to have. It's really, really hard. It's not as easy as just calling somebody up. And so while it's not completely foolproof, this stuff is really, really hard.
And there are other university students that have already beaten that challenge.
Yeah,
the
there's
NSA
3
program.
so far. There's 3 on it.
It is possible, and it's not extremely complicated if you know what you're doing, if you can work at it long enough. But having that multi-app factor, just by having that second factor, it makes it so immensely harder for someone to try to break into that account. Because if they find out your password, now they got to find out this token, which most of them will stop right there. And in security, you're never going to have perfect security. There will always be a way in. You're just trying to slow them down and make it cost enough or take up enough of their time that they're going to forget you and move on to somebody else.
You don't have to outrun the bear, you just have to outrun your friends.
And there are these services like Fish5 and FishMe and FishTank and all these different services which will run phishing operations on your corporation for you. So if you've got a business and you want to see how your company's doing, you can go to these and you will see all the logs and see, wow, 80 of my 100 employees all gave up their login credentials to this service. And now they were able, what else could they have gotten through that? You also need to have detailed policies in place. You need to be able to let your employees know, hey, if this happens, if you get an email from the boss asking for sensitive information, call him, verify it, send him a message directly on a different chain of communication to make sure that he did actually request that. And don't verify off set in stone information. A social security number is the last thing you ever want to verify from, because nobody's changed their social security number, very rare. You want to change by something that they choose, that's custom, or that you set for the client, and that they can reset at any point, at any time. Something that is not easily guessed, something that's not a credit card or a name or a billing address, things that are easy to find. I mean, heck, you can Google some people's names, and you'll find all of that information on them in the first page.
The stupid, what's your mother's maiden name, reset your password, that's the worst. Don't answer those with like the real answer. Come up with something else and put that in there.
Just come up with a completely fake answer. I
Yeah.
love whenever I call an Amazon and I had an exercise where I had the students try to social engineer my Amazon account. And I love that they even called me while they were doing it and put him on hold, called me and are like, if somebody's trying to break into your account, we've got, this is the information they were able to obtain, and you should probably make sure that you're secure that. I even handed him my wallet and said, good luck. He had my driver's license, had credit cards, all that. Still wasn't able to get it. That was really good on Amazon's part because I had different security questions that were completely crazy. Like, what school did you go to? And it would be some random generated mess. And when I would tell the person that, they'd be like, what school is that? And things like that. I mean, you can make up those answers however you want. They don't need to be the true answer. Say it's a rival school. Say any kind of thing crazy that would not be something that someone could easily get off your Facebook page or something.
We don't have a Facebook page.
Anybody got any questions?
Yeah.